All right, I'm going to ask you guys to do something. Make sure you've got a glass of water. If you don't, I'll wait. And no, this isn't just my reminder to you to hydrate. I've got an actual point here, but also you should totally hydrate. You don't drink enough water. But it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if it's from the tap or the filtered jug in the fridge that you think is taking care of all of this. It doesn't matter if it's bottled. It doesn't matter because 45% of American tap water has PFAS in it. PFAS. 45%. And Trump's EPA on Monday made it easier for the chemical industry to make sure PFAS stays in your water. And if you don't know about PFAS, it stands for perfluoroalkyl substances. It's a mouthful. You may know these as forever chemicals. And they're called forever chemicals because they don't break down. Not in your body, not in the soil, not in the water. And these chemicals, these forever chemicals, have been linked to kidney cancer, testicular cancer, fertility issues, immune system damage in infants, hormone disruption, liver damage, thyroid disease, you name it. And these chemicals are in your bloodstream right now. And they're in your kids' bloodstream. And the only federal rule that restricted these chemicals in drinking water was passed in 2024. And that rule was just ripped up by the Trump EPA. Now, I need to tell you a little inside baseball here, because this is a little close to home. You may know that I work with some amazing attorneys right here in this same building, Levin Papantonio, great law firm. And just upstairs sits Ned McWilliams and his team who have been working these PFAS cases for years. I've seen their presentations, I've seen the science, and I have heard the stories from the people whose communities and families got poisoned by a chemical plant or a military base. It's not a story you forget. Kids being diagnosed with cancer alongside their little brother just months apart. Entire towns whose drinking water sources turned into lawsuits. This is a real problem with real science. And yet the response from the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin on Monday was to say, the previous administration didn't follow the procedural step-by-step requirements. Cool. That's the government's explanation. I'll translate that for you to say, it's the chemical industry, specifically the American Chemistry Council and the National Association of Manufacturers. They sued the EPA last year, claiming that these limits were arbitrary, capricious, and an abuse of discretion. So the EPA, the very people who are supposed to protect us from that, are dropping the rule rather than defend it. And I'm telling you, I'm in the building with people who've done it. If Lee Zeldin fought that lawsuit, he could win. The science is on his side. But it's easier just to delete a protection and call it a procedural problem. And I want you to keep all of that in mind, how we just got sold out to the chemical industry. And I want you to think about MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and how they are not a serious movement, because this is one of their big key talking points. And yet reports are showing that Trump's EPA just put 2 employees of Chemours on the Science Advisory Board. And by the way, Chemours, a PFAS manufacturer. So the board that advises drinking water regulations now has 2 PFAS manufacturers sitting on it. It's just another example of putting the fox in charge of the henhouse and then letting the fox rewrite the henhouse's manual. And then you have a press conference and call it a holistic approach. Where's MAHA in all of this? While up to 105 million Americans have drinking water districts where PFAS has been detected above the limits that were allowed in 2024. 105 million, a third of our country. And the new approach, the Trump EPA's holistic, scientifically sound approach, is to repeal the limits on 4 PFAS variants and to push back the deadline on the other 2 by another 2 years. Compliance on those were supposed to start in 2029. Now it's backed up to 2031, just past the end of Trump's term, just in time for whoever comes next to be the one that tells you, drink up. And yeah, MAHA is upset now. Make America Healthy Again, the RFK Jr. wellness crowd. The people who are supposed to be on Trump's base on this issue are calling it a betrayal.
This regulation from the Biden administration would not stand a court challenge, and the court challenge has already been filed. And what we're doing today is shaving years from a process where that regulation would get thrown out and we would have to start again. And we're doing it in a way that maintains the Clean Water Act levels, the maximum contaminant, Safe Drinking Water Act levels, the maximum contaminant levels, and gives maximum production as quickly as possible to the American public.
You voted for it, idiots. And now MAGA and MAHA, they're eating themselves. But for the rest of us, we're the one paying the bill that comes due in pediatric oncology wards and 100 small towns that drew the short straw on having a military base or chemical plant nearby. And there are people challenging this. Earth Justice, they're one. They're going to challenge this under the Safe Drinking Water Act's anti-backsliding provisions, which are provisions that exist precisely so that the EPA cannot lower standards once they're set. But Trump, MAGA, and MAHA now literally don't care if they poison you. Do me a favor, subscribe so that we can keep stories like this up front. Subscribe because the people whose job it is to inform you already have 100 other stories on their plate and they didn't get to this one. We have one job, and it is me yelling on camera about stuff like this so that you don't miss it.